Most of us are familiar with the Bulgarian flag, white, green, red, symbolizing peace, freedom, nature, and of course, the blood spilled for the nation. But the flag of Bulgaria could have looked radically different. In the midst of World War I, Tsar Ferdinand of Bulgaria was already preparing for his nation's expansion after the inevitable victory. In 1915, the year Bulgaria joined the Central Powers and attacked Serbia, Tsar Ferdinand designed a new flag for the nation. A black, white and blue tricolor, the black standing for the Black Sea, the white for the Aegean Sea, also known as the White Sea in Bulgarian, and finally blue for the Adriatic Sea. The flag was on one side an homage to Bulgaria's greatest extent under the self-proclaimed Emperor of the Bulgarians and the Romans, Simeon I, but it was also a political statement that distanced Bulgaria from the Russian Empire by replacing the Russian-inspired Bulgarian flag with a new one that lays claims on the territories that would comprise the new Bulgaria on 3 seas. But there is just one problem though. What I told you might just be a lie. Let me explain. Recently, I made a video where I explored different endings for the Bulgarian nation. While I was making the video, I looked at the list of Bulgarian flags on Wikipedia, and on the bottom of that list, I saw this, a very out of place looking flag with a text next to it implying it was made by Ferdinand as a potential flag of Bulgaria. I instantly decided I should put it in the video. As a sort of Easter egg, I didn't even look at the image description while downloading the flag. You can see the description states more or less what I told you before. I only read it after publishing the video because I was a little curious why the flag looked like it did. After I realized it was meant to symbolize Bulgaria on 3 seas, I was pleasantly surprised. That seems just like something a history buff like me would make and post on the internet. Who would have thought that a Tsar from the 1900s would also enjoy making alternate flags? I decided to do a short on the topic, since it seemed like a cool obscure historical fact. I wanted to look for a little more information on the flag, but by that point I wasn't doubting the truthfulness of the Wikipedia description. Looking on it at a surface level, it all seems to make sense. The motivation is there. It's not a mystery that Ferdinand wanted to expand the borders of his country and his influence within those borders, so him wanting to change the flag makes sense. You assume the reason the change didn't occur is because the Bulgarian population still saw the Russians as brothers and had grown used to the flag that they had gained their independence under. Also, the tiny detail that Bulgaria lost the war and was only left with a coastline on the Black Sea would have played a small role in not picking the flag that claims you have a coastline on 3 seas. Sadly, my search for more information was proving to be a little more difficult than I expected. The best online source that I could find at first was on the Flags of the World website, where Dan Dimov gives the only thing that I can describe as a credible source, the book A History of the Balkans, from 1804 to 1945. I'm not gonna be reading the whole thing, but feel free to pause the video and read it for yourself. The main takeaways are the information that the author of the book, Stevan Pavlowitch, mentions in a passing remark that Ferdinand wanted to change the flag of Bulgaria around 1915. He also apparently describes the colors of the flag as black, white and blue, but does not specify the exact shade of those colors. Bulgarian ambitions to lay claims on Albanian territory are also said to be described in the book. That's about all the vital information that we can gather from this description. By this point, the flag was seeming a little bit sus to me. I tried to track the first instance of the flag online with TinEye, but the image was too simple for the website to track. Then I tried a reverse image search on Google, and my suspicions that things with the flag are not as they seem only increased. I had already known that it looked similar to the Estonian flag and the flag of the Saarland under French occupation, but through the image search I found that basically the same flag was used by the now gone neutral territory of Moresnet and is still the flag of Brianne-le-Comte, which is a town in Belgium, also a former Dutch municipality, had something similar as its flag. But that's not the end of the world. Yeah, it's kind of weird that these colors are so common, but the current Bulgarian flag also has a lot of lookalikes, and that doesn't mean that it's fake. Most of the places that flew a flag like this had German influence. Considering Ferdinand was a German prince, he would also fall under the category of being under German influence. So maybe they all decided to change the German Empire flag a bit and use it as their own. Also, something I found by image search were some Bulgarian posts on Reddit and Facebook featuring the flag. I have the privilege of knowing Bulgarian, so I decided to search for information in a different language. After all, if there are any primary sources, they're going to be in Bulgarian. Spoilers, I couldn't find any credible or let alone primary sources. From what I found, none of the articles written by museums and such on similar topics mentioned a flag like that ever existing. And as far as I know, there isn't a digital archive containing all Bulgarian documents that could help me, and even if there was such a thing, the chance of a site run by the Bulgarian government actually working isn't very high. At this point, I realized that my only hope, providing trustworthy sources, was going to my city's library and asking if they had any books on Ferdinand or the history of Bulgarian flags, and maybe even scans of documents for a proposed change of flags. However, I decided that searching for information that might have been lost or never existed for a video my audience might not even watch isn't worth it. So I said to myself, let's look at the Facebook and Reddit posts. Maybe by some miracle, someone actually cites a source. What could go wrong? I definitely couldn't go into a rabbit hole and develop a conspiracy theory involving Bulgarian football. I went through some Bulgarian posts and articles, most of them repeating the same thing. I commented on some, but I didn't receive a response. On closer inspection, there were 2 Facebook posts that stood out. I will start with the one that I chronologically discovered later. You will see why. This is the post. Of course, I'm blurring the profile. This is the most detailed post I could find outside of Flags of the World. It mentions a Bulgarian suggestion to claim Albania after a victory in the First World War, which tracks with what Dan Dimnu says and is supposedly supported by a history of the Balkans. It also mentions how the idea to change the flag persisted after the end of the war, and the referendum to change it was supposedly being contemplated. Unclear to me why, since Bulgaria couldn't hope to achieve its dreams of a 3 seas spanning empire anymore, but maybe they had given up on the 3 seas flag by that point and maybe just wanted something less Slavic. Moving on, it also says, as far as the poster knows, a referendum wasn't held because public opinion was against changing the flag. This is also a very peculiar statement, since the reason for the referendum itself was to see what public opinion was on changing the flag. Did the 1918 government hand out questionnaires or something? Or are they saying that retrospectively now we know that public opinion was against changing the flag? And that poses the same question, how do we know that public opinion was against changing the flag? Now, by some miracle, someone in the comments asked for a source and the poster actually replied. And this reply, this is where the fun begins. The poster says that the source is a newspaper. You might think he's just making up stuff that couldn't be tracked, but I'm inclined to believe him. Because if the poster partially or fully copied the text of a newspaper, this would explain why it's written in passive voice and why it paints a more developed but yet not completely logical story. Now the second post is where things completely shift in a different direction. At first, the post itself is nothing special, and so are most of the comments. There was an interesting post saying Stevan Pavlowitch isn't really objective towards Bulgaria. The commenter doesn't believe the story is real, which is interesting because the post doesn't mention Pavlowitch, so the commenter was at least somewhat familiar with the flag, but hiding under view more comments is something way more interesting. This picture that not so clearly depicts a flag that looks like the one we're talking about. The flag is actually upside down, and the white stripe appears to be smaller than the others. This image turned my understanding of the situation upside down. Why was this obscure flag present in a football stadium of all places? This one image made me realize that there might be a whole other story to this so-called mystery of Ferdinand's flag. I had been exploring the history side of things, but could there be hidden information in the football side of the story? I started to search. I didn't even know which team the people were cheering for. I actually texted the person who replied with this image. He didn't respond, but on his profile, I saw the logo of a popular Bulgarian football team, called Levski. So I figured the people holding the flag were probably cheering for that team. I looked at some more images, and sure enough, banners and flags with the colors of Ferdinand's flag show up everywhere. The weird part is, the team logo doesn't really share those colors. I looked on the team website and the logo has never been black, white and blue at the same time. At this point, I called one of my friends, who is a little more football literate than me, and I showed him the pictures and asked if he knew anything about the situation. Naturally, he said he had no idea about Ferdinand's flag or what the colors used by Levski fans mean, but he did point out to me that the flag is being used by Levski ultras. I asked him what that meant and he explained that they're basically like ultra fans. I tried to look for more information on their flags and banners, but they don't exactly have a Wikipedia page or anything, so I didn't find anything. I made some comments online and asked some more friends, but none of them knew either. But then I had a light bulb moment. What if the information in the newspaper was just a joke written by a fan of the team. If it's a patriotic newspaper, some fans would surely read it and get the joke. So could Ferdinand's flag just be an inside joke that went out of control? I had no evidence, but I went to bed confident that I'm on the right track and I couldn't wait to sit down and write the script. If you've been paying attention, you probably know what I realized the next day. In my theory, I completely forget Pavlovich's book, and I assume the newspaper is the first written instance of the story. So now that I've went over everything again, my final verdict on the situation is that, well, we can't know for sure, but it's probably a mix of lies and truths. But if I had to put out a theory, it would go like this. Back in the 1910s, Ferdinand and others might have been talking about changing the flag or some other national symbol. I don't think Ferdinand actually made the flag or had a defined concept for what the flag would be. He just wanted to distance the country from Russia and Serbia, which Bulgaria was at war with at the time. This information might have been documented in autobiographies, memoirs, and books written sometime after. Then most of the information gets lost during communist rule and by the passing of time itself. If there was such a thing, the memory of it probably survived in some historian circles and in some scattered segments of obscure books. Then Stevan Pavlowitch, drawing at best from something he's read and at worst from his ass, mentions in a passing remark in his book that Ferdinand wanted to change the flag. Then the information spreads to more people, where it is passed around in conversations and posts on the internet, being diluted and exaggerated in the process. Either through that dilution or through a history of the Balkans, the flag takes its current form and meaning. After that, maybe some Levski fans see the flag and think it's cool, so they start using it. But maybe it's just a coincidence and the reason they use the same colors is completely different. The story ends with someone finding a cool flag and posting the image on Wikipedia, writing a small description on what he thought the flag was. And after 2 years, a small YouTuber searching for interesting flags for his video stumbles onto Ferdinand's flag. I hope you guys liked this video. It's different from what I usually do, but I did have fun making it. If you want me to, I can try and find written information in archives or books so we can actually get to the end of this. I contemplated buying a history of the Balkans, but it's not exactly cheap and I doubt there is much more information than what I already found on Flags of the World, and maybe the information I actually found on Flags of the World doesn't really exist in the book, which would be even worse. It goes without saying, but if you know anything about this subject, please leave it in the comments. With that said, if you want to see another video about alternate flags, click here. And if you want to see the video that started this whole mess, click here.